today, a Torah thought in honor of Yom Hazikaron, the day when we remember all those Israeli soldiers who gave their life to protect the Jewish people in Israel and all over the world. This week's Torah portion says a very special verse, very simple verse, with profound meaning and significance to it. It says, God tells us you should keep my commandments and my laws that a person shall do, v'chai bahem, and he should live with them, ani Hashem, I am God. So the rabbis ask, what does the verse mean by v'chai bahem, and you should live with them? And the rabbis answer us that what the Torah is telling us is that a person has to live. The mitzvahs are there to make us live, to make us enjoy life, not, heaven forbid, to cause death. And if there's ever a chance that by doing a mitzvah it might lose life, then we desecrate anything to protect the sanctity, to protect the sanctity of the Jewish life. You know, it's an important message because you see religions around the world, you see Islamist extremists who are ready to blow themselves up and do anything just to kill, just to bring death, and talk about a world far away. But in Judaism, it's always been about living. And it's not something new. You go all the way back to Egypt. What was the Bible, the Egyptians, the book of death? Even the pyramids, the thing that they celebrated so much was all about tombstones and about burial and death. But Judaism says that that's why the 5 books of Moses focus so much on life. Even though we believe in afterlife, it's never mentioned much because Judaism focuses on living the life, on celebrating life, on sucking the marrow out of life, on enjoying the life that God has given us. And therefore, the Torah tells us you have to do the mitzvahs, but b'chai b'hem, you have to live with them. And therefore, if there's ever a chance that there could be death, heaven forbid, or if a life is in danger, we desecrate anything. I remember when we were expecting Necha, our 4th, and it wasn't the only time, when we were expecting Levi, our 2nd, and it was on Passover, on the 7th day of Passover, and Gertie was in labor, and we had to go to the hospital, and without hesitation, it was the first time I ever went into a car on Shabbos, because I knew that life was at stake, and we drove to the hospital, and thank God, we have a healthy baby. And that happened more than once, and as Maimonides says always, Chalo Shabbos Echos, desecrate one Shabbos, so you should be able to celebrate so many more Shabbatot, so many more Shabbos, celebrate life. And it's such an important message of Judaism to cherish life to the most. But it's something even greater. And the Chassam Sofer, one of the sages, tells us like this: what's the greatest thing that was ever created? By no question, it's the cosmos, it's the world we live in. Imagine, it's 92 billion years of spheres. In fact, if you think about it, we have 1 octillion planets. That's 1 with 24 zeros after it. Every human being has 100 trillion cells. And each one has a nucleus. And in the nucleus is a double genome. You go on and on. And all this was created, the greatest creation ever, the world. Yet, we find something interesting. What's even greater than the creation of the world? You know, when God speaks about the creation of the world in Genesis, he says it in 31 verses. But when God speaks about the Mikdash, the tabernacle, that the Jewish people built for God, there's 371 verses. Why? You know why? Because the world is the house that God built for us. And the tabernacle is the house that we built for the Almighty, that we built for God. So that's why when it comes to creation, there's 31 verses. But when it comes to the home that the Jewish people built for God, there's 371 verses. But what's even greater than the tabernacle? What's greater than the tabernacle? Shabbos. In fact, when it came to building the Shabbos, when it came to building the tabernacle, although it was so great, the Torah tells us that you couldn't build on Shabbos because Shabbos is a sanctuary, an island that even supersedes any building, any creation. So here you have the world with all its grandeur is overcome by what? By the tabernacle, which was 75 feet by 150 feet. It was a beautiful building, but compare it to the world. And even greater than that is the Shabbos. But what's greater than even the Shabbos is the human being. So think about it. And that's what the Chassam Sofer says when we say Shema Yisrael, Hail Israel. Shema stands for Shin. Shema stands for three things. The Shin, the Mem, and the Ayin. The Shin stands for Shabbos. The Mem stands for Mikdash, the tabernacle that was built, the home that was built. And the Ayin stands for Olam, which is the world, in descending order in its value. The greatest is Shabbos, after that is Mikdash, the tabernacle, and after that is Olam, the world. And what does it say? Shema, listen. All these three superseded by what? By Yisrael, by the value of life, by the value of one soul. All of these three are desecrated, and if there's a crisis, human life supersedes it all. And that's what we say, Shema Yisrael, listen, Shema. All these three things are superseded by Olam, by the world. Shabbos, Mikdash, and Olam are superseded by the human being. You know, with the whole crisis of COVID, and we all know how hard New York was hit, it was very tough. And I'm not going to name the hospital, but one of the hospitals in Brooklyn was the epicenter of COVID, and especially for the observant community. And it was tragic what was going on there. People lying there so sick, no family to come watch them, no family to be there on their behalf and stand for them and advocate for them. And it was really bad. Many people died that who knows if it wasn't such a time and such a crisis and they had their family, things could have been different. And I had a relative, very close relative, I'm not going to mention, who was intubated for 3 weeks in the hospital. And I don't know if you read, there was a whole article in the Wall Street Journal actually, how so many of the intubated patients have been dying because the intubation and being intubated for so long causes so many other issues. So after a while, his doctor wanted them to do a tracheotomy on him. So to pass through and just go straight into the lungs and hopefully to be able to get him better. And the hospital refused to do it. And the hospital said, look, the surgeons don't want to do it because when you do tracheotomy, you're literally going into the bed of the virus, and they don't want to do that. They don't want to endanger themselves. So I have a brother, God bless him, an amazing young man who really was pushing for my relative and for others, and he said, what would it take to get them to do this? He needed it. For my uncle to get better, he was sitting there for 3 weeks. So they said they needed this special M3 surgical costumes that you wear when you do a surgery to protect you from the virus, and they had none. So on Shabbos, or on the holiday of Passover actually, he ran through connections and got 5 sets for them, for all the surgeons that would have to be there so they could do the tracheotomy. They did the tracheotomy, and a couple days later on Friday, the second day of Passover, and thank God my uncle's doing much better, and since then they did it on many other patients. Why do I say this? And Yishav for Shalema, Chaim Levi ben Chana Priva. But why do I say this? Because it wasn't even a question in my brother's mind that in order to save a life, or even if there was 1% that you could save the life, you desecrate Shabbos, you desecrate everything. Because when you say Shema Yisrael, Shin, Shabbos, and the Mikdash, and the Olam are all desecrated for a 1% chance to save a human life. And that's the beauty of Judaism, the value of Judaism. Judaism tells you any religion that values death over life and that doesn't find significance in every moment of life is a religion full of danger and is way off the path. Why do I say this today? Because today is Yom Hazikaron. Today we remember 23,816 soldiers who gave their life to protect the people of Israel, to protect all those who love Israel, to protect Am Yisrael. And when you think of the value that we put on each life, when you think of the value of the love that the sacrifice we'll make to rescue one soldier from Hamas's hands, how much were we ready to give up for Gilad Shalit? And yet, we mourn 23,000 soldiers. More, 23,816. I myself, personally, we have an uncle, Yoshua Omener, my father's brother. He was 2 years older than my father. He was 19 years old when he was killed. My father lost many more people, as you know, his mother, his uncle to the British, because he left after curfew to go help a mother who needed milk for her newborn baby. But we're talking about just soldiers here. So I want to tell you a story that's so powerful that I heard from a rabbi in California. He himself, this rabbi, went to Israel. And on Yom HaShoah, on Yom Hazikaron, he ended up in the Holocaust Museum, Yad Vashem in Israel. And he's standing there and he notices this young Israeli woman dressed in a Navy soldier uniform, looking at the screen and watching the testimony of the survivors. And she's crying and crying. After a while, this rabbi comes over to her and sees how moved she is and asks her, first he asks if she needs a tissue or something. And then he says to her, "Why are you so moved? Why are you crying so much?" And she says, "You see this story? Ze oto sipur. This is the same story that I heard from my grandfather all my life." And the rabbi says he looked at her and he said, "Ze oto sipur. Yeah, it's the same story. Aval hasof acheret. But the ending is different." And she looks at him. She says, "What are you talking about? This is the story I heard all my life. This is my grandfather. I'm listening to the story as he gives the testimony again. The oto sipur. What do you mean hasof acheret? The ending is different." And the rabbi says, "I'll explain you. Oto sipur is the same story, but the sof is acheret. The ending is different. You know why? Because you, b'cheil ha'avir, you're in the Navy, b'tzva hagana l'Yisrael, in the Israeli army, protecting the Jewish people. Yeah, the story is the same. The story, how we lost 6 million, is the same. But you are the difference, because you at 19 years old are ready to sacrifice your life and ready to give it up to protect the Jewish people and to make sure that we never have a Holocaust again, that we never go to our death defenseless." So today, you look outside, it's cold, it's 40 degrees. Not a good day for May. It should be much warmer. It's cloudy, it's raining, it's been pouring all night. The heavens are crying. We lost nearly 24,000 of our best. And today we remember them not just because of what they brought to us, but what they sacrificed for us. Young people, full of life, full of hope, were ready to give it all up to protect the Jewish people, to protect Am Yisrael, not just in Israel, but all over the world. May Hashem bless Yehei Zichram, Baruch. May all these Kiddushim, may all these holy ones, may their lives be a memory, may their sacrifices live on in our lives, and may we celebrate their greatness, and may we know, Umacha Hashem Dimo, may God erase all tears, and may we have life, V'chai Bahem, and we live in it to protect every human being, every life, and recognize the value of the soul that Hashem has given us. Have a good day.